Want people to know that, your motivation for business, don't be ashamed if it is money, right? If it's money and it's dollars, because that's just an energy currency, love currency, emotional currency, digital currency, whatever it is, it's a way to exchange energy and make a shift. Go for it.
I'm so happy to be here, Haylie.
Thank you. It's amazing to be here. I love what you're doing, and especially empowering all of us. I mean, it's really important that we can do this kind of work and do it effectively.
Yeah, for sure, right? Because, we become experts at our craft, right? So there's obviously the medicinal part of what you do. You help people heal. And then there's the business side of what you do.
Right.
And I think that so many people are trained in their craft, whether they're an accountant or an attorney or, an artist. But then the business side of that is a whole other business in itself.
It is. And it was, a big deal for me to change my paradigm shift from being a solopreneur for years, a clinician, to an entrepreneur. It was a big shift. And I really think that scaling, I'm a raging dyslexic. So I have dysgraphia. So the numbers, were intimidating, I think, to me. But someone once said to me that if you scale your business, you can change this many more lives. And that was it just like flipped a switch in my mind. And every time we have growth, I think about all the people whose lives we can impact. And that's true for any individual, any woman, any individual in business, whether you're selling something or a service, what you do and what you put out into the world and into the universe impacts people. And if you are doing something positive, the more you scale, the more you can change the world.
I'm so happy that you say that, because I think, sometimes people get stuck on this idea that it's just about making money. But
right.
Look, it's really a multiplier. That's what scaling is. It's a multiplier. So for instance, if it was just you, and you didn't have other people helping you, how many people could you actually help? And you have all this genius that can change people's lives. So
I was kicking and screaming, I'll tell you in the beginning. A really amazing client of mine, Mason Novick, he's won 1 million awards and Juno and 500 Days of Summer. He was pushing me to write a book, and I had I had 3 successful practices in LA. Well, 1 in Colorado, 2 in LA. And he was like, I want you to meet with this agent. I want you to do this. And I was like, I can't even read a book. I'm 3rd grade, 2nd month visual reader. Now I, can consume papers and digest papers auditorily, but to write a book was just this kind of foreign concept. And he just kept pushing and pushing. And he just said, you know what? I have people that need you, and you're one person. And I was literally sitting on the side of the road in traffic, coming up Coldwater Canyon through LA on my way into Beverly Hills. And I pulled over and I called that agent and I just said, hi, I would like to write a book and change people's lives. And we literally sold the concept that Thursday. We had a bidding war happen in New York. It was crazy and it was amazing. And it was something that, I hadn't anticipated, but it was the motivation. I had a clear vision of what impact I wanted to make on my time here.
I had all these other questions I wanted to start with, but now you're going to and I love it because, people will often say, how do you get the energy? Like, how do you get the drive? And that's the perfect example. There was something that inspired you. It was like this divine intervention, or your client, right, that came through you. And that was your why. And your why is your driver, that purpose that you're here. And even though you had fear around it and all that, you're like, let's do it. And then it was obviously meant to be, because everybody was waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, it was so received in a crazy way. I mean, it was insane. I, from a health perspective, have really been drugged through the mud. I always say that I should have been turned in on the lemon law. I have dealt with very serious health issues all of my life, and I always use the word mud because my first degree is in agricultural and soil sciences, right? And so I just kind of feel like I picked up all this rich dirt along the way, and that soil was what I was able to kind of seed my passion. I mean, my mom always says since I was a little kid, I was asking people about, she said, my pediatrician said I had strep throat, I had a bacterial infection. I said, how do you know? Well, how can you see it? Well, how can you, I was just always curious and asking questions. But, I was on my way. I'd been accepted into vet school. I was planning on going into the agriculture and animal industry. And I was, grounded in a hospital bed with an autoimmune disorder. I was diagnosed with ITP. I hemorrhaged. And the options that were given to me, I just thought there has to be a different way and a better way. And I was on anti-rejection drugs, Imurin, Cellceps, Mepron, all you guys that have dealt with autoimmune disorder, you'll be like, I know that drug, I know that drug, I know drug. And then I found the ultimate love of my life, which took me almost to the brink of death, which was prednisone. And I was given kind of an unlimited, I was working in surgery. I was given kind of an unlimited script to prednisone. And for the first time, I felt like I had, energy and no pain, and I wasn't bruising and I wasn't bleeding from the gums. And then I lost a big part of my right kidney function because of the drug. I was hospitalized. I had to be taken off the drug over a 2.5-week period. And they were just like, now I'm in my 20s and they're going, we don't really know what to do. We can remove your spleen and start you on chemotherapeutics. And I can still smell what the hospital, I know what my gown looked like. I can smell what the room smelled like. I can taste the taste of having an IV. I can remember that moment. And I just went, this is not my destiny. This is God, blah, blah, blah. This is not my damn destiny. And I went back and I trained in biochemistry, and I learned how to hack my own body, and I learned what all my labs meant. And I, have a master's in nutrition, and I learned how to use micronutrients. But when you talk about motivation, sometimes you're at those moments where you're so alone in your journey and it's just scary. And the same energy that brings about those butterflies and that joy when you're doing your quality work is that same metabolic pathways that put you to the brink of fear, down on your knees. Or I always say, what's your scooping out of the ice cream bin moment, right? But that was the trajectory for me. I took a medical leave of absence from my vet school acceptance, and then I started integrative medicine practices young, because I couldn't get what I needed. So I just started hiring a bunch of people. I thought, I'm going to be paying them for care. I might as well figure things out. So, it was kind of a crazy journey. I will tell you that I always say prednisone was the first love of my life. And it brought me to the brink. And it was also the precipice for changing my life. So I just, want people to know that, your motivation for business, don't be ashamed if it is money, right? If it's money and it's dollars, because that's just an energy currency, love currency, emotional currency, digital currency, whatever it is. It's a way to exchange energy and make a shift. So, go for it, right? And do good things with your dollars or your time or your love or the meal you've made. Yeah.
Yeah, we speak the same language here. I've written articles just on that exchange of currency, right? Because it's like an electrical energy currency. I want to go back. I mean, the prednisone thing. We were talking. I was a homeopathic physician for 20 years, and I've seen I've seen all of the detrimental results from the long-term use of that drug. And I know that, and nothing, for those listening, this is not a bash on traditional medicine at all. There's definitely for everything. But for chronic care, there really has not been much in the traditional medical realm, right? And so, with just so people will understand, when you have steroids, what it's doing is suppressing your body's natural inclination to do what it needs to do. Like you think you're better because it's pushing everything.
Oh, right.
And then right.
And those of us that have autoimmune disorders, right? We all live in this like fear of the flare. So it's such a mind, you know what, because our bodies are attacking ourselves, right? Our own tissue. And so prednisone, you're right, suppresses that immune response. Now, look, I'm the assistant director of integrative medicine at the Institute for Neuroimmune Medicine. That's why I'm a health strategist. Like my thing was, how did I navigate? How have I guided clients through navigating? I mean, we get referrals from Johns Hopkins, Abu Dhabi, Johns Hopkins, all over the world, right? Because there are clients that are a complex case and we need to help them navigate. So take it back to the basics, right? Everything we do, every thought we have is micronutrient dependent. So this brings me back to having a degree in agriculture and soil sciences. What we grow is based on the fertileness of our soil. We supplement our soil. We supplement our animals, right? It is required if you produce anything in the agriculture industry, whether it's a dairy product or soybeans, you are required, if you're going to sell those commercially, that you have a pH balance, that you supplement the soil, that you have adequate and pure water. We have to at least give that to these incredible bodies that we're walking around with, expecting tons from every single day. So, I'm a huge advocate of putting power on your plate, food, supplement, but with the right ones. And I'm just heartbroken about what's happening in the supplement world right now. I'll get off my soapbox for a second. But remember the ASPCA, if you did keto, a diet, if you put your dairy cattle in a ketosis, you will lose your license to manufacture and to have a dairy farm. But we do that. We're doing that to the human body right now. It's just heartbreaking for me. So as you can tell, I've got a lot of passion about it, and that's what drives my business.
Yeah, we could do a whole other podcast just on the health side of it, right?
Yes,
and because all of the things that are put into our dairy, when it comes out pure, and then we're putting all kinds of hormones and antibiotics and all kinds of stuff like that are long-term affecting our health, our children. Right. And so it's not something I talk about. I'm the worst. We'll go out to dinner with like friends, or someone will like set me up on a date, and suddenly I'm talking about the metabolism. I can't help myself, but that's okay. Yeah. So this is a business podcast. So yes. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and go back and touch on that again. But, when did you realize, so was it at that point when you're like, okay, this isn't how my life is supposed to be playing out. I know that I'm meant for more. Is that when you said, I want to build a business and make it my mission to help reclaim other people's health? When did that come about?
Honestly, I would love to say it was that altruistic. I was scrambling to dig myself out of a health crisis, and I was hitting roadblocks all over the place. And so I said, well, if I could, and I was, researching and studying, stuff in Germany and studying stuff out of the country and watching all these trials that were happening in Spain. And I said, well, if I can put together a clinic where I can get adequate care, maybe I can, rope-a-dope a few friends in and get them to come and get some care. And at least that'll pay to keep the lights on. I genuinely, I wish I could tell you I had any form of a business plan. I just knew that this was a void, and it is still I need to duplicate. I need your help. We need to scale more aspects of our business. We're training coaches. This has been a godsend and a lifesaver. But as I started to create that, I started to say, what would outrageously healthy feel like? Not like I want to have normal platelets. I want to swing from the chandeliers. What would outrageously healthy feel like? And if money was zero concern, and again, dyslexia has been a superpower for me, because you can say $30,000, you can say $3,000, and it kind of feels the same if I don't use my intuition. It's just a zero. So I'm not afraid of dollars, but zero concern financially. And then I reverse engineered it. I said, okay, I need, X amount of dollars. Now, how do I come up with those resources? And I said, I'm going to create a facility that's going to get me, I'm not going to pitch this, hey, I'd like your labs, your cholesterol to be stabilized. I said, I want to be outrageously healthy and I want to invite you on the journey. And I'm not sure exactly how it looks and it's going to cost us some money, but this is where we're going. And it was crazy. I had people that just came in and said, help me, help me, help me. And I had no business helping them at that point, except for I knew that's where I was going. So I invited people on my journey and it just kind of exploded from there. I am a systems person. So I created systems and I'm a scientist, right? So I had scientific provings. I didn't want to know if you just felt better. I wanted to see the chemistry change. I wanted to, would put these questionnaires together. I wanted to see a self-assessment, right? How do you feel now? And then we made these health wish lists, dream big. I want outrageously healthy. I want to have an abundance of energy. I flew 65 flights last year and I feel incredible, right? So that's what I knew I wanted. So helping people set goals. Then I created this model and people went, wait a minute, there can be a structure to healthcare that's not insurance driven, right? Where you have to beg and plead to get healthcare, and it's not disease management. That wellness and outrageously healthy is a worthy health goal. Not, I don't want to die of breast cancer at an early age, like was in my family. That was a given for me. I wanted more than that. And so I think to set that bar was really an important, and then, definitely you get the professional athletes because they're paid millions and millions of dollars to be outrageously healthy. If we can increase their time, I had Olympic athletes. If I could increase their time, a ladybug's eyelash worth, I could be the difference between a bronze and a gold medal. So it was really fun to get to work with clients early on that had the same concept, and here I am, coming off anti-rejection meds. I mean, I had horrible symptoms associated with my autoimmune disorder. And here I am going, follow me. I'm going on this journey and I want to invite you. And it has been the most rewarding thing to watch people actualize and realize their deepest desires. And some of them are really unique. They can be I just want to pick up my grandchild, or I want to be able to, maybe be red carpet ready for the Emmys, or the Grammys. God, these Grammys were so fun this year because, it's I want to cry. My babies, they're my babies. My clients are my babies. And to watch people realize their full potential. But I'll tell you, it's the client that has brain cancer that says I want to make it 6 more months so I can watch my first grandchild be born. That is so worthy to work with their practitioners and work with their nutrition and see if we can't prolong or give any aspect of quality of life so that they can realize their dreams. And I didn't know what I was in for. But I've written 7 books, New York Times bestselling books. I have when I look at, this is the newspaper article from the New York Times. Just so you know, I sat in a hotel room by myself with the covers over my head when the New York Times was releasing. I had 1,500 Facebook followers and I beat Gwyneth Paltrow, Sheryl Sandberg, Lean In. The people on this list, I just watch it and I just go, who knew? Who knew? Yeah. Who knew? I can't even read.
Well, yeah, your passion is magnetic.
Thank you.
I imagine that, that's really what people followed initially, right? Now you've got the results to back it up. But initially it's wow, I love this woman's energy. I love her certainty. I want to have that kind of certainty. I want to have that kind of energy, right? And so I think that's really what it takes when you have this passion and purpose. You have to believe it to your core. Even if you don't know exactly how it's going to play out, you just know it's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen.
I'm going to distill it down, and you might kill me for this. Putting that into business is super simple. And what it is so I learned this being dyslexic, having a mother that's dyslexic and having a daughter that's severely dyslexic, right? We are all extremely powerful, successful women. My mom has a PhD in reproductive endocrinology, a master's in Oriental medicine, taught in Beijing. We've all traveled and done this. What I was ingrained in me is accommodate, don't remediate. So I took that. So what I mean by that is I can't read my book. I have to audio my book. when I was published by Crown Random House, some of the disability benefits that they had to afford me were never done in publishing before, right? And I had zero shame in having a gap between where I wanted to go and where I was, and putting people in to help me in a way that worked for me. That is the key to business. So many times we modify our business, our passion, our ideas because someone wants to print me a paper that has a double-sided. For me and my dyslexia, if it's printed double-sided, just that little shadow can increase my transposition significantly. So I have a team of people around me that I, provide a wonderful opportunity to have career with purpose, but that understand that there is zero judgment, that I don't get papers that way. And it's not like, oh, I refuse to have whatever. It's accommodate, don't remediate in business. Do not try to be something that you're not good at. Don't study things that you don't have a passion for, period.
Yeah.
Because it'll be a diminished version of the business you could have.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I remember when I was studying to be a homeopath, I was so engrossed in all of it. And it's interesting if I, was sitting here thinking back on my path to becoming a homeopath. I actually had in my first business, Haylie, I didn't know how to scale a business. I was the control freak. I thought I had to do everything. And my daughter was really little at the time. And I was in a very difficult marriage. And I ended up, from the stress of it all, I ran over myself with my own car.
Oh my gosh.
So like trying to stop a moving car. And so from that, I was like, okay, I'm clearly screwing up in my life here. And I was referred to a homeopath. I didn't even know what homeopathy was. And it ended up completely transforming my life. And then I was like, wow, I want to learn more. And that started a whole journey for me. And this is many years ago because I've been in business for 40 years. But as a homeopath training, I had a school, the Homeopathic Academy of Southern California, which still runs today. We trained a lot of people that wanted to start a business in the healing arts, right? But they struggled. You have the passion for it, like you have, but then the business side of it is where, they would learn and learn, but, now I've got to actually open my practice. Now you've helped millions of people heal with your programs, your books, your courses, your certifications. You've run a great business to make that happen. How has growing the business part been for you compared to the healing part?
Right. Yeah. So, it's been a journey in trusting, it's almost like trusting someone with your baby in a way, right? Because it is a business of it's a soulful business that I have. I'm going to make it really basic, but it's true. It's having KPIs, key performance indicators for me, having really clear KPIs, having really clear reporting to the people that have deliverables, right? And maybe that deliverable is, I'm going to use a basic, maybe that deliverable is that I travel so much that I want my dog clean when I get home so that I can have a snuggle bunny, right? Like when we look at people, we set up people for success in whatever their position they are in our company. And that deliverable brings me so much joy and lets me sleep well, right? And that's a deliverable with a KPI. And and I'm using that basic example. I'll use on the other example, making sure our COGS are up to date and that everything, has an automated aspect to it and that it's then checked. So for me, it's the reporting from my team and being really clear and accepting zero judgment for what you and your heart feels would be a successful growth trajectory. So whether it's, to stay flat during COVID, to grow 50% during COVID, to try to keep your employees during COVID, whatever that is, being unashamed that that's what your goal is, and then having clear deliverables and clear performance indexes so that you can positively influence people that are making a difference in your company. And, being in the supplement space is really strange. I've been taking supplements, all my life. I'm a ginormous advocate. I supplement my dogs, my horses. My daughter's a professional barrel racer. We analyze everything from the hay to the horse's hormones on a regular basis, right? But it's a dirty business. And it's a dirty business. It's a bad business. And so stepping into that arena, I kept it really private in the clinical aspect because I had control of the nutrients. When I decided to scale that, I was super reluctant, I'll share with you, because people make these crazy claims. What's in the bottle is not in the bottle. It's a huge victory for our marketing. It's a huge, not even just heartbreak. It's dangerous for the human body, what's going on, especially right now in the supplement space. So I just kind of, that was a hard one for me to make the decision to scale. I decided that I didn't care, what anybody told me. If it wasn't something that I would ingest, that my kids would ingest, that was 100% the best that I could get in the world, I wasn't going to carry it. I mean, I can't tell you how many business, consultants say, why aren't you carrying a blank? It's the number one selling thing in the world right now. And I said, because I wouldn't take it. So that was a scary one when I scaled that business. The one that was super organic for me was scaling the coaching business, right? Training other people, because there's a very significant system of measurements of success for that. And I've always taught, and I love that. The other one that was easy was also to scale integrative medicine clinics, because I put together and have an SOP for everything, standard operating procedure, everything. And if you employ anybody, guys, if you don't have a clear SOP in the first 30 days, every penny of investment you've put into this human being on behalf of your company, you might as well have flushed it down the toilet, because let's hope they win the lottery and go to Fiji and invite you. Let's hope that that's the best case scenario, but you've lost 100% of what you've invested into that human being is gone without an SOP. So I'm a KPI, deliverables, SOP kind of girl. And then I can travel and I can look at my sheets and we can see, and we do, because again, being dyslexic, I color code everything. So we have windows where things turn green, yellow, and red. And red is like somebody better throw a brick through the window. We have a problem. Yellow is like there should be a meeting with myself or a peer that week. And green is like shoot me a text about the green so I can send you an Amazon gift card. Like we strive for yeses. We strive for successes, right? It's the same feeling that we have to be outrageously healthy. We want to run an outrageously functional business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the red, yellow, green, that we have that actually also in our scale it method as well, because you're looking, there's so many aspects of your business, right? And when you've got the dyslexia, by the way, Barbara Corcoran, she has that, right? And I
want to meet her.
She raises a lot of money for that as well.
Right.
But I have extreme ADD and self-diagnosed, but I just know my husband knows that when he tells me something or asks me something, I say yes. If I don't do it in that exact second, I don't even mean 5 seconds, right. I will have forgotten, because I've got so many things going on in my mind. But I think that, those things that we struggle with, we actually become our greatest gifts, right? Because
for sure,
it helps you to focus on the things. Like for you, it's not going to make sense for you to get stuck in the weeds and all of the details of your business, because then you're not going to be able to live in that place of being a visionary, which you truly are. And that's where you can make your biggest impact in the world. So, I love that. And I love also that the idea of the KPIs, because, we can go in so many directions,
right?
In your team. And when you can zero in every single department, marketing, sales, operations, team, your revenue streams, whatever it is, customer service, legal, finance, and okay, these are the 2 main metrics that we're focusing on. We call them our North Star metrics. And that's it. That's it. And that what you focus on expands, right? And so if it's number of leads for
Right.
your marketing, if it's retention and operations, and that's what you're focused on, then that's going to grow. So, but we can be all over the place and then get nowhere.
Absolutely, and I struggle with shiny object syndrome for sure, and I have and FOMO, like if with the things that I'm constantly working on, and I have FOMO for myself. That's why probably I travel so much, but I also have it for our chronic problem, and everybody that goes to our website will see this. Our chronic problem that we suffer with is I want everybody to have everything they could possibly ever need forever, just in case. You know what I mean? I don't know. And so every time someone comes in and we're going through this process again and looks at the brand and looks at our messaging, they're like, Haylie, drinking from a fire hydrant is not always the best. So as soon as they let me loose and I start getting my hands on anything, they can always tell, because I'm like, oh yeah, and don't forget. So having people that can help you distill and have a clear message, and that's our biggest struggle. And I will say I am the fuel that, ignites that fire. I cause that struggle chronically in our companies. So, knowing to, what you contribute, knowing what you maybe should, not touch. But then also, if you are the principal in a company, it's your business. So if you don't want to do something or don't feel like doing something, don't do it. There is no, and I'll also say I've never been ashamed to have people look at my numbers. So I'm one that whips out my P&L and my balance sheet, to anybody that I know is smarter than me. And I'll be like, what do you think? And I've had people tell me crazy things. So I look for consistency. And we use in our house, don't ever take advice from someone you wouldn't let ride your horse, right? So people are going to give you a lot of business advice, but if you wouldn't embrace them on some level of your personal life, it's kind of hard to take advice from them on a business life. At least you're willing to go to dinner with them or something like that.
Yeah, that is, I'm glad that you stated that. In Pinnacle Global Network, and I know, with your certification, you're training people to go out there and help a lot of other people. That's a great scalable model. In Pinnacle Global Network, my company, when in the beginning, I was the one coaching people to grow their businesses. And then I said, no, I want to help a lot more people. So now we have over 30 mentors. They've all run multi-million-dollar companies. They've had international companies. They've done mergers and acquisitions, thousands of employees, because of that very thing that you said. Right. Now I don't have a horse, so that's not necessarily my checkpoint, but I think that it's so true, right? I am such a big believer in mentorship. I have a mentor. I'm in a mastermind and I've been in business for years. We're so close to it, but learn from the people that have been there and done it. I think that we can get in this where we want to get advice from everybody. And then we don't trust ourselves. So be really clear, get mentorship, get support, but also be really discerning on who you get that advice from.
Yeah, I had something funny happen to me, and it was a big learning experience. Again, making that transition from being a solopreneur to an entrepreneur. Linda Resnick, who owns, Fiji, Wonderful, many, many, many brands. They're very philanthropic, invited me to lunch at her house. And I sat down. I'll tell you what the gem that I took away. I sat down and she wrote, Ruby's. That was a great business book too. And we sat down, we were hanging out, we were at her house, and she said, well, where's your notepad? And I'm going, look, I don't want to insult Linda Resnick. She invites me over for lunch socially. I'm going to enjoy the heck out of her and they just had their house redecorated and love their beautiful art and design and, all of this stuff. And I don't want to be rude and pick her brain, business wise. Everybody in the world would kill to sit down with Linda Resnick. Right. And she says, Haylie, where's your notepad? And I said, I didn't want to insult you. Like I didn't want to, bring work to a beautiful lunch between the two of us. And she says, please, you're not a fool. She had somebody bring a notepad. She said, we're having lunch together. We're going to talk about your business. And that moment I went, okay, I did bring something to the table. My parents raised me this way. I raised my children this way. I don't care if it's a flower that you picked at the front door, always bring an exchange, a token of something. I bring like everybody a multivitamin and a metabolism shake. Like that's my currency, right? Or bars, something that I know they're going to love. And we have a conversation and it's a kind of a thing, but be authentic about, my dream was to pick Linda's brain about business, right? But be authentic about your intention too, and realize that people that have had tremendous success, especially that kind of success, are typically super generous with it. And so I learned that from Linda. Then later I was having lunch with Steve Tully, who ran Quicksilver, Neff, sold Neff a couple times, wildly successful in business. And I showed up with my notepad and my questions. And he was like, we had the best lunch at his golf course. Anyway, he ended up coming onto my company and working for me and with me as the president of my company later. He was like a consigliatory for me for like 3 years before then. But I just made that shift that I'm coming to the table as a businesswoman and I want desperately to learn from you, and I bring something and I contribute something. And that's how they can scale their passion, right? Because when they've had, again, run, billion-dollar companies, right? They can say like, they obviously have a passion for scaling business. And so you're facilitating a way for them to share their passion and continue to water, the soil that they've created. So I learned that from Linda. And then I, claimed Steve as part of HPG because of that skill set that I learned from Linda. So that was huge for me in business.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. And this is the other thing. I think that a lot of times business owners feel like I should know this. What's wrong with me? I think asking for support is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. Right? How would you know if you haven't done it before? How would you know?
Yeah. And that's so it's very parallel to what I do in my business, right? Being a health strategist. Like people go into their doctor's office, right? You've got this person that's taken 6 to 8 years of their life to study the human body and medicine, you hope, right? And so you've got this potential partner in your personal wellness journey, and you forget to ask for what you want and what you need. Right? You go in and you feel like you are, caught up in this riptide of what they think in 7 minutes or less is right for you. You don't walk in the door we have this thing called a request for care that all of my clients and all of our community, we have an online community that people are members of. All of us walk in with this request for care, a very deliberate, this is who I am, something interesting about yourself. This is where I'm at, something meaningful about your current health struggles. And this is where I want to be. And because of that, I'd like you to do X, Y, and Z. And of course, be an active partner and contribute to what's going to happen today. So we changed that paradigm. And it's a Linda Resnick fault to not walk into the doctor's office without a piece of paper. Like I walked out of there and I scaled my membership business so big because I said, I will never have my clients, my community, my cherished community, walk into partnering with a homeopath, an acupuncturist, a physician, integrative medicine doctor, a neuroscientist without a piece of paper that says, this is who I am, this is what my intentions are, and are we doing this together?
Wow.
So it's the same thing.
Intention is everything. Intention is everything.
And not being ashamed of having needs in business. Or needing,
which brings me to my next question here too. And I mean, I literally could talk for hours and hours with you, Haylie. I have so many things I want to ask you. So
anytime.
So you're gonna have to have a part 2. We'll have a part 2.
Love it.
Right. So let's talk about, business owners work 24/7. They do. And one of the things we work with them on is to stop doing that and build a team managed company. But they're taking care of everybody else. They're taking care of their employees, their families, their communities, all of that. Can you give, and I know this is so broad and so general, but what are some wellness tips on for business owners, really anybody, but those are who is listening to this podcast, on integrating more proactive health, more work-life balance, if there is such a thing?
For sure. I'm a big pick three things, right? So pick three things, and I'll tell you, I'll share mine with you, right? Pick three things that are going to take the pressure off, let a little bit of steam out of the valve, because and the more people you employ, I think about, I've got a gentleman that's been with me for 12 years and, his son just got married. And I think about, if I don't keep things rolling, I'm affecting this massive family, grandkids. And I do personalize my business and my team. So what are three things that are going to let some of the steam off? So I mentioned one, like literally when I come home, my dog is a total ranch dog. He's like, if it's something's dirty, he's going to roll in it. Like, so if I could just have a clean dog when I get home, like, I know that sounds, I have made hundreds of thousands of dollars because my dog is clean. I am dead serious, because I can come home, I can have that snuggle, and I'm also allergic to a bunch of scents. So having my dog clean sounds like no big deal, but it can't be like anywhere. It has to be someone that uses like a shampoo that I'm not going to, I'll go poof, poof, like my eyes will swell up, my lips will swell open. So it sounds silly, but I have three things that just, I know, take the steam off, right? So pick those three things and have them be part of your company, not part of what you're trying to be sneaky and sneak in the name of work-life balance. So take it out of your personal life and put it in somebody's responsibility in your work life. So mine is food, right? So I have a grocery list, and it doesn't matter what hotel I go to, and that we have secured armed guards in our at the Center for Collaborative Research at the Institute of Neuroimmune Medicine, and our guards know that like I get food at the front desk. Now I try to contribute. So I always order them like a kombucha and, some sweet things, just because they love me up energetically and I want to reciprocate. So mine is food. And I took the responsibility out of my personal life to make sure I have organic, clean food, and I put it into my business life. So my third one is that I have travel time with my mother. I lost my father. So it is something that you would think would be a personal value and but I put the responsibility on my company to make sure that I'm with my mom, that I have travel with my mom, and that I have time alone with my mom. Now, when you talk about a work-life balance, suddenly my work responsibility and the people that are in part of my work understands that that's a value system that can allow me to be the CEO of three major businesses, three major companies, right? And a practitioner and a mom. And I, drove 2.5 hours to drop off rodeo gear for my daughter last night in the middle of the night. I want to do that. So that's my number one thing, is pick three things that you're trying to sneak in during your work hours that feel personal and turn them into a non-zero negotiable for you to actually show up to work. So I use the analogy like this. So like I have to have lights on and internet for my team to be able to do their work functionally. We don't negotiate that. I don't say, well, maybe you'll have internet today, but you still have all the demands on it. That is a work responsibility. That's a non-negotiable. So that's what I say. Take three things that right now you're being sneaky, right? You're thinking I can weed these in between a meeting, or maybe I can color my hair, and not go on camera on Zoom. Not that I've done that before, but don't sneak those. Pick three things and don't sneak them in. Put them in the company's responsibility and make it somebody's KPI. Make it a non-negotiable. Put it in your annual or your quarterly review with whomever, and let everybody in the company if you called the CFO of any one of my companies right now and asked what will someone not be here for, and they'll say if Haylie's three non-negotiables, and they're crazy to some people, but they're what let me have that balance.
Right.
Yeah. So I need food. I need something clean to snuggle with at night. And I want my mommy. And I'm a badass businesswoman.
You know what? I honestly think that is one of the best pieces of advice that has been given on this entire podcast, which I've been running for over 10 years. I love that. I love that. You know, it's so funny. For me, it is long, slow mornings.
Nice.
I'm not a morning person. I'm a night owl. I go against all of the books written about getting up at 4 a.m. It is just not the vibration that my body lives on. My whole
I like
family,
that.
we could do a conference call at 2 a.m. My mom, my brother, my sister, we're just all wired that way. Now I go to bed earlier than I used to, but I love long, slow mornings, right? And then I used to feel guilty about that.
Right.
And I say, no, I got to have a 7 a.m. meeting, an 8 a.m. meeting, and I'm there, but it's not computing until I'm finally super clear. And so I learned to, really communicate that and be clear to my team, like, just do not schedule anything for me before 10 o'clock.
And praise them, like have, so, when I said red, yellow, green, a person can get all kinds of praise if they have an all red week, as long as they've thrown a bunch of bricks through the window, right? So if your team, like, if they manifest that for you, right, then praise your team. Be like, hey, this is a value system of mine that the company needs to hold, or and I think just getting them kind of wrapped around that can be really important. And it's hard. I've seen a lot of people in business. I went to this company, I will not name it, and they're $1 billion company, and we were looking at some business opportunities, and my kids work for my company, their kids work for their company, and there was like, and again, I have no shame in manifesting financial success, but all their kids had these Porsches and Audis, and it was all right in front of this plant that they had people packaging stuff. And I just kind of went like, I understand that that's a value system and that's like a successful thing. But when it's something that's like unattainable, that's maybe when you keep it private in your life balance. So for example, no judgment, but if your desire was to manifest, I want 5 14-karat diamonds in my safe by the time I'm 35. I don't care. But you might not want to set those out in front of everybody if their efforts on behalf of your company won't give them something that's meaningful to them.
Right. If you can't help to contribute and give them that opportunity as well.
Right.
Yeah. I so get that. And I'm such a believer in that as well. Abundance for everyone. That's the thing. I really want my team to have great success. So I'm living in Mexico now. We bought a place here, and we had a retreat here recently.
Oh, that's nice.
We had Ryan, who's behind the scenes right now producing, has been here a couple of times. We're bringing a bunch of clients out here. We want everybody to reap in that abundance as well. And so anyway, well, listen, this has been amazing. And, you all, whoever that you are listening here, share this podcast with others. This is so powerful. Definitely check out the work of Haylie Pomroy. So Haylie, what's some last words of advice? And then can you just share with everybody where they can find more information about you and the work that you're doing in the world?
Right. Yeah. So I would say a couple things. If you're thinking about making a difference in health and wellness, I do firmly believe we have one of the best certification programs in nutrition. I think what we've put together is life-changing. It's well supported, and we've integrated people into these amazing careers, and I'm just so proud of them. So check that out if you want to have a coach, if you want to be a coach. The other thing that I would say, and I had a lot of business advice not to do this actually, and I did it anyway. We have this online community, and we do a free 30-day trial because I just want to make sure people, know that it's right for them. But in this community, we run, health challenges, but mostly we totally kick around when you talk about mastermind. We do like a mastermind concept, but instead of their business, it's their health. And I was told I was crazy to do it and it wouldn't be scalable. And, it has been the most rewarding process to watch and be a part of. So I would say, look at it from a business perspective. If you guys are looking from a business, I'm a pretty open book, but definitely look at it from a health and wellness perspective. And
health comes first. As a business owner, health comes first, because if you're not here great, you're not going to be able to run your company. So
it does. And again, in the quiet, of the night or early in the morning, like really, really think about if what you're doing brings you the gratification that you deserve. If not, there's a million other things to do.